At the doggy day camp that my Rottweiler frequents, on Thursdays they have party days around a particular theme or a holiday, and they email a picture of your dog with a digital frame celebrating that theme. So on this project focused on using the shape tool, I thought we'd create a digital frame for a doggy day camp in which everything is shapes and text, and then we can simply drop the image of a dog in and use that frame for multiple images. In Photoshop, I can create a new document using the photo template of a landscape 6 by 4 inches. That's 300 points per inch, and I want the background to be white. I'll click Create. There's my document. I'm going to stretch out the frames a little bit so I can see the pasteboard. And to begin our digital frame, we're going to work just with shapes. I'm going to take the rectangle tool. I want to get a nice soft blue. And we're going to create shapes for our options rather than paths or pixels. I want a stroke of nothing. So I'm going to turn my stroke all the way down to 0. And I'm going to draw a rectangle towards the top. We're going to have some text that sits on top of this. So with the rectangle shape, I'm just going to draw a rectangle up at the top. We're going to have some text that sits on top of this. It doesn't need to be very high. We're going to create basically a sky area for the top of our frame. And then we'll create some sand dunes at the bottom so we're doing a beach theme. Then I'm going to switch over to my ellipse tool. I'm just going to draw some ellipses that overlap. And they can extend off the frame. Now my layers palette, I have a whole bunch of shape layers. I'm going to select all of those, go to the flyout menu and choose Merge Shapes. I'm going to name that Clouds. Now I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom for our sand dunes. I'm going to take a light brown color. Go back to the rectangle tool. We'll draw a rectangle at the bottom. And then same thing I'll do, take the ellipse tool here. And then I'll take all of those layers and merge them. So I'm merging the shapes. Not merging the layers, I'm merging shapes so they retain the shapes. It becomes basically a group of shapes. And let's name this one Sand. I'm going to click on the background to deselect. I'm going to go to my black and white swatches, black being the 4 color. I'm going to go to my custom shape tool, and up here at the top you'll see there's a drop down of shapes, and you can scroll down through that window and there's other shapes that you can add in. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to go to the window menu and choose shapes. I see the default shapes that are in Photoshop, the latest version. It also has a folder for leaf trees, wild animals, boats, so you can see the shapes in each of those categories, and flowers. But there used to be a whole lot more shapes in the older version of Photoshop. And so there's this folder of legacy shapes and more. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to open up the 2019 shapes folder. And I'm going to scroll down and find the amphibians and reptiles. I'm going to open that up. And there is a turtle here. I want to grab the turtle and just bring it onto my screen. And I can size that turtle down. I'm going to place the turtle over here on the right-hand side at the bottom. I want to make sure it's above my sand, so I'm going to bring it up in the Layers palette. And I want it to face the other way, so it's facing into the picture. So let's go to the Edit menu, Transform Path, and we will flip horizontally. And that's about where I want it. I'm just going to press the Enter key. Just going to click on the background layer to deselect, and I can close that Shapes window. The last thing I'm going to do for our frame is add some text. I'm going to choose Arial Black 18 point. And in the character panel, I'm going to set the tracking to -15. And I'm going to take my color tool with the eyedropper. I want that blue, but I want it to be a darker blue. And I'm going to click and type. Make sure my text is above the image here. Just another dog day afternoon at. Now it's probably a little bit dark. I'm going to come back over here. Let's make this a little bit lighter. I'm going to double click. Let's change the color. I'm going to double click on that text layer. I'm going to give it a little bit lighter blue color. I'm going to come back and click on my sea turtle just to deselect that. I want to move this down a little bit, take the move tool. We're back on the text. And then I want to add some text at the bottom. And for this one, we're going to take a darker brown. Erie Doggy Day Camp. I'm going to highlight through that. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Let's do 16 point. Move that over to the left of my turtle. I'm going to do one more text selection. I'm just going to click in the center here. We'll move this after we get this done. This one's going to be bigger, so I'm going to do 36 point. And for the color, I want to choose the color of my clouds. And we're just going to type the beach exclamation. I'm going to move it down to about there. Then I'm going to take all of those layers, group them together, and I'll just name this frame. Now I don't like the sand dunes in this area. It's too sharp of a drop off in that sand. So I want to fix that. I'm going to go back over to my group, expand that, go to the sand, and I'm going to take the direct selection tool. I'm going to click on that oval and I'm going to stretch it out. And I think I'll also going to get this dialog box saying I'll turn it into a regular path. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. And same with this one. I'm just going to grab that handle on that top little circle. Let's just move it up. And I'll say yes. And then one last one, this oval behind the beach, I'm going to just flatten it a little bit. That looks much better to me. And I can collapse that group again. Next, find 3 images of dogs that are fairly large. They need to be at least 1800 pixels wide, since our image is 6 inches wide at 300 pixels per inch. So find 3 images of dogs. I've zoomed in on these 3 images, so I can still see both the dog and my project. I'm going to go back and make my project active, but I'm going to zoom out because I will need to resize these. I want to see the pasteboard a little bit more. So this particular dog is 2400 pixels wide. This one's 1920 and that one's 1920. So I'm going to take the golden retriever, and again I'm going to go to the background in the layers panel, hold down the shift key and just drag it onto my project. That puts it centered in a new layer. I'm just going to drag it down to below my frame that I created and go to the edit menu, transform, scale, and I can decide how I want to scale this. Press the enter key to accept. I'm just going to name this Golden. I want to do the same thing for the other 2 images. I'll select the cattle dog image, grab the image in the layers panel, shift key, drag. Again, transform, scale. This way you don't have a lot of options as far as scaling. Press the enter key to accept, and then I'll get the 3rd dog, and again scale this. And as I mentioned many times before, you always want to scale down and not up on your images. So make sure you're choosing images that are pretty large to begin with. And let's name that Terrier. Name this layer Cattle Dog. I'm going to go to the File menu, save my project as F01 Dog Beach Dog Beach frame and my last name. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to export these each as JPEGs. I'll add the name Terrier. I'm going to turn that layer off, save this one. Make sure it's a JPEG format, and we'll save. Next, I want to turn that layer off. So now we're down to the golden. Same thing, File, Save As. I'll add the word golden. Make it a JPEG, and save. Now we have our original PSD file with all 3 dogs in separate layers, and each of those dogs saved as a JPEG image that we could then distribute to the dog's owners.